Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. I bet people who watched the video earlier were not expecting to see me back today. Nearly a half-hour video, predominantly me ranting. I bet you thought I was just going to sit down, put the heater on in the front room, lounge on the sofa, whack on a TV programme, just relax for the rest of the day. No, but the last video got a big fat wah wah from YouTube, so we're back trying to earn a crust. But in all seriousness, I actually found this article really fascinating for a couple of reasons. Number one, because just because you are of certain stock doesn't mean that you should be entitled to anything. Number two, the actual nature of this rejection. And number three, I'm going to experience some of Joe Hill's stuff myself. You're just going to get a transition screen, and I'm going to come back and have a little chat about it. So I'll get into it all. Now, we all know Doctor Who is currently setting records on an almost weekly basis now. Sadly, they're not so good. It usually involves plummeting ratings and worst performances ever. But, don't worry about that. But it looks like they need a lot of help, particularly in the writing department, because it doesn't look like they have to have too much talent right now to be in there, particularly if you're called Chris Chibnall. But just because you are the son of Stephen King doesn't mean that you should get any sort of preferential treatment. So, the title of this piece, Stephen King's son, Joe Hill, suffered brutal rejection as Doctor Who writer, coming from the Metro paper on Friday. Sorry, the roll on my mouse is not working very well. It's a Nago. It's gone past its 12 months. It's done. So it's we're up and down like Harley Quinn's knickknacks. Stephen King's writing skills have been well and truly handed down to his son, Joe Hill. Well, I'm going to find out for myself, and I'll tell you what I think. But that still doesn't mean the family doesn't have to deal with rejection. And in one case of Doctor Who, a simple no was replaced with one of the harshest critiques to date. What on earth could the enlightened BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, say about somebody who loves the Doctor Who franchise, who comes from decent stock and wants to write for the show? How on earth could... Well, let's find out. Joe has revealed that after being a lifelong fan of the much-loved BBC series, he was delighted after being given the opportunity to offer up ideas for the show. However, the results were not as positive as he'd hoped. In fact, they were pretty darn harsh. Speaking to the Horror Show podcast, Joe explained, I had some ideas for Doctor Who, and I really wanted to write for that show. And my screen agent got me the chance to pitch on it. So, I spent a month and a half on 3 pitches. And man, I have never imagined harder in my whole life. I imagine quite hard on a nightly basis. Literally using every opportunity he had to get it right, even pulling in author Neil Gaiman, who has written for the show to help him out. He wrote the TARDIS episode, when the TARDIS becomes female, which was a good episode. I really like that. Things went south quickly with the harshest rejection note once he'd finally put his application in, or put in his application. I think we might be missing a word there. With trepidation and my heart in my mouth, I sent in my pictures, he told host Brian Keane. And a couple of weeks passed, and I got the email. I got back. We have never let an American write Doctor Who. And if we were going to, we wouldn't start with you. What? What? The BBC wrote, we have never let an American write Doctor Who, and if we were going to, we wouldn't start with you. I mean, at the very least, that's pretty xenophobic, isn't it? At the most, it's pretty racist. But this is the enlightened BBC, for goodness sake. How can they have this sort of ideology? Anywho, is that not the most smoking rejection of all time? He laughed. Absolutely savage. Thankfully, though, he managed to get something, brackets, arguably, better, landing his own Netflix series, Locke Key, based on the comic books he wrote with Gabriel Rodriguez. Now then, this is where I'm going to nip off, folks, because I'm going to go and watch the first episode. There's 10, I've had a quick look, there's 10 parts. So I'm going to watch the first episode of Locke Key. It's going to take approximately an hour or so. I'm going to come back and I'm going to see if Mr. Joe Hill actually does have any writing skill. Or will the BBC write to savage him thusly? Nah. I'll see you in an hour. Bye! Hello, I'm back. Did you miss me? I was gone a transition. But for me, it was longer. I watched it and then I did some steps and never mind. Right, first things first, let's get the serious business out of the way. The fact that the BBC rejected somebody based off the fact that they're American for a start is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgraceful. And the BBC, you know, it films everywhere around the world. It has actors and people from all over the world work for them. So why they would turn around for Doctor Who and said, we've never let an American write, oh, fuck off. Disgusting. I'm just going to put it down to Chibs being a bellend. Because do you know what? Chibs is a bellend. So now we've got that out of the way. Let's get on to the actual show. Was it any good? Oh, BBC. No. I gotta say, I loved it. I really did enjoy the first part. It starts off slow, and I was a little bit worried at the start, but by the end of the episode, I was like, I want to watch more. I want to watch more of this. So, it's about a family. There is a mother. She's got her son, a daughter, that are relatively the same age, and then a much younger son who's in his probably early teens, maybe 12, 13, maybe 11. And the father was killed. He was murdered. And they're called the Lockes. They're the Lockes. That's the surname of the family. And so they up sticks and they move into this house that you can see on the screen, where they're greeted by their uncle, who I think is Aaron Ashmore. I don't know if it's the other Ashmore brother. Is it Sean Ashmore? It's Sean Ashmore and Aaron. I think it's Aaron. I'll have to check the credits. But one of the Ashmore boys. And it's as you can see, it's an old, spooky looking house. And, the kids are all traumatized because they've lost their dad, and it's clearly quite soon after the event. And they're trying to rebuild their lives. And it starts off slowly because of this. So, I was a little bit concerned for about the first 15 minutes. I'm not going to get into this. And then it just gets into it. And it gets really good indeed. The little kid goes out to this building. I believe it's that building. Outside of the house. Where there's a well. And he's just mucking about. He's exploring and he's mucking about. And he's shouting down the well. Echo, echo, and all that sort of stuff. And then the well talks back to him. And it's this girl's voice. And she's like, I'm your echo. And he's like, ah! And he runs away, scared. So he goes to the family. There's a woman in the well. There's a woman in the well. So the family comes out. And he can squeeze through the bars to get in, but the family can't get through the door because it's locked up and they can't find the key. There's no key. So they're just like, whatever, kid, imagination, leave him be. So they all go off the various ways. The kids go to school, the older kids go to school, and they have their own little adventures. And then the mum goes off, maybe to town or somewhere, I wasn't quite sure. And she leaves the little kid in the house on his own again. She's like, if you need me, use the iPad to text me. It's all good. It's all fine. You know? It's all good. And then the kid seems to hear these little whispers going on, little whispers going on. And he's drawn back outside to this well again. And so he decides, I'm going to talk to the voice in the well. And then you see that there is actually a woman at the bottom of the well in shadow. And he starts to have a conversation, and she tells the kid that there are keys, lock and key. There are keys hidden around the house, and they have different uses, and they can do different things, and they all have a distinct look to them. And she says, if you find this certain key, then you can say where you want to go and put the key in the door. And when you open up that door, you will go to that place. So the kid says, he goes and he finds the key. It was actually on his sister's bracelet, or part of it at least. And so he goes to a door and he says, the ice cream parlor in town. And he puts the key in the door. And he turns it and he opens it and he walks through and he goes through to the ice cream parlor, and he's in the ice cream parlor. And the guy's like, you're on your own? He's just like, yeah, can I have some ice cream? And he's like, here you go, it's $3. And he's like, I'll be back in a sec. And he goes to the door and he opens the door and he goes back through and he's back home again. So the sister comes out and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, this key can take us anywhere we want to go. And she's like, I want to go to the Eiffel Tower. And thinking he's, just a kid being... Sorry, he goes, Eiffel Tower, and he puts the key in, turns the key, opens the door, it's a closet. It's the closet of the house. And she's just like, you broke my bracelet, get out of here, you little bastard. So he runs back to the well, and he says to the woman in the well, he's like, we couldn't go to the Eiffel Tower. Why couldn't we go to the Eiffel Tower? And she said, because to travel somewhere, you need to have seen that place. You need to have been to that place. So you'd been to the ice cream parlor before, so you can envisage the ice cream parlor and you could travel through. But you'd not been to the Eiffel Tower before, so you couldn't do it. So you're like, okay, I like, this rule set's fine. I like this rule set. And then she says there's another key. And he finds another key in the garbage disposal. And she says, this key will allow you like a wish. What would you wish for? And he's like, to see my dead father. So she says, go buy a mirror or whatever and do that. So he goes buy a mirror. He says, I want to see my dad again. And he puts the key into the wardrobe. And he turns the lock and nothing happens. And then in the actual mirror itself, a keyhole appears. So he does it again and he puts the key in. And then suddenly his reflection is just like looking at him, smiling. And then it starts to beckon at him. And he puts his hand on the mirror and his hand goes through. And then he pulls it out. And then he goes and tells his mum. And his mum comes up and she's like, what? And then she's like, touches the mirror. And her hand goes through. And then her reflection is like looking at her like. And then it starts, the reflection backs away and walks off. And she starts to walk into the mirror. And the kid's just like, Mum, don't do it. Don't do it. I don't think this is a good idea. But she goes inside. And then she sees her reflection come back up to her, like walk deliberately up to her, and it holds out its hand like that. And then she touches her hand and then shattered glass everywhere. It's like the whole image just shatters and there's like hundreds of different versions of her and she's lost. So he runs and he gets the kids, his brother and his sister, and he tells them what happened and they're just like, what? And then they try and rescue the mum and I'll leave it at that. Won't say any more. But there was a really intriguing premise. There was a cool bit of imagination with this. And it just worked. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want to go off now and watch the next part. So, I didn't see his pictures. I didn't see Joe Hill's pictures for Doctor Who, the three of them. But if they had any sort of creativity of this, I can't see for the life of me how they could be any worse than the absolute mitigated drivel that Doctor Who has spewed out this season. And the response that they sent to him is an utter disgrace beyond compare. But Joe, I'm going to watch some more Locke Key because I'm really thinking I'm going to enjoy this. There's 9 more episodes to watch, so I've got plenty. I'll get some binging going. So there we go. Xenophobic BBC doesn't want any help to rescue their failing show. Yep, sounds about right in current day. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.